Hi there. Hello. Welcome to another Practical Awakening with Di and Anjali. Hello, Anjali.
Hi, we want to welcome you all tonight and for a new topic. And just a quick reminder again, as usual, hit the subscribe button if you like our channel. And if you're interested and if you're willing to donate any amount, the link is also given in the description box below. And we would be most grateful for any donations. Thank you. Back to you, Di.
Thank you. We'll start as usual with turning inwards, finding the breath. Eyes closed, eyes open, doesn't matter. Going deeper inwards. Removing ourselves from the constant engagement. There is just the breath and the mantra and the open space. And we're sinking and sinking. Disengaging, opening up the immensity of space, all empty, bright, so peaceful. And we can sink even deeper. And the heart is opening, expanding, embracing everything. All this huge, huge brightness and knowing and nothingness. Heart is filling up, Ah, taking everything in, and nothing is left out. There is nothing to cling on to, just this emptiness and peace. Bliss even, going deeper and deeper. And the heart is singing. And now we are slowly, gradually going back to the surface. Still a little bit lingering inside this space, this blissful emptiness. And we're opening our today's topic, clinging, clinging, clinging. What is clinging? You know, when you're in the space, there is nothing to cling on to. Do you find anything, Anjali, to cling on to when you are turning inwards?
No, I was just noting that this morning when I sat. Well, it's every morning, but still, there's nothing. There's nothing's
No,
wrong. There's no problems. There's no attachments. Nothing really matters.
no. It has to be expressed with a thought to be able to cling on to it. It's, I know I'm
Mm.
stating something very obvious, but if it's not expressed with a thought, mentally expressed, we can't cling on to it. And once, through practice and other things, when there is no more clinging, no more attachment, and everything is just coming and going all the time, the clinging is just really not possible. Not possible. Because nothing stays, everything is just momentarily coming and going. But in everyday life, of course, we are mentally processing everything. And the vast majority of people is mentally processing all the time, almost all the time when they are awake. There was a good question, which was, what is the difference between attachment and clinging? I really like that question. What is the difference? There is no difference, and there is a world of difference. There is no difference because they both mean sort of the same, holding on to something. And there is a world of difference. When you say, I attach to something, okay, I attach to many things. And then you say, I cling to something. Wow, I mean, there is a difference there. Is there a difference there for you, Angie?
There is. It seems to me, in my experience, I found clinging to be sort of like amplified attachment, but it
Yeah.
seems more desperate. But
Lovely,
this,
lovely.
this, yeah, this might be an interesting segue. Let me just catch our viewers up to speed. I was communicating with Di via text last night, and said I'll think about some things I've clinged to, and I was having trouble finding really anything. I thought, okay, I've got some attachments here and there. I can feel those, but something like so big that I cling to it, I was like, gee, I don't know. Maybe I don't have those. Um, and so I texted Di. I guess I don't know if I asked you, Di, or not. And she texts back that I was clinging to my Baba, who is my guru. And it's interesting because I've had quite a day of tears and working through some stuff. And just because of that insight, what is key for me is that I did not see that. I saw pieces of it when someone would criticize my guru or say something that's like, oh, that can't be, I could feel the resistance and I could feel the defense mechanisms kind of start, but that I'd usually divert attention or do something. So I really didn't have to look at it in the past, 10 years or whatever it was. But, Di's text was like right square between the eyes, like, this is it. And I didn't see it. It was so big. It is so big. And it's so interesting that I could be that blind to something that is so in front of me. And yet Di tells me it was so obvious she couldn't help but point it out.
This is the beauty of it. You see, because it's so big, it sort of swallows so many other things, It is so big. That's it. We live in it, so we sort of don't really see it because this is us. We sort of so identify with it. We so gel with
Mm,
it that this is us. You know what I mean? So we can't say it. It's just, it's our makeup.
yeah, there's a lot of tentacles involved in that, like you said, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. We are, these are those blind spots or areas that we fill up with all this emotional, as we call emotional charged sort of a content,
Mm,
this and that and that. And with time, it's more and more and more. And these sort of areas, blind spots are, if you want areas that are sort of not moving, that are just staying there and are blocking everything else off, are preventing any change in these key areas because they're just big and they're getting bigger. And unless there is something on the outside that prods them or gets in some sort of contradiction with what's there, and sort of they rise, and there is this
right.
sort of resistance towards it, and it's sort of,
Mm.
no, like, don't touch that, don't go and go there. That's it. That's that's the sign. That's the sign. And then what you do, you don't really go thinking, of course not. No, you don't go thinking about it, you don't go analyzing it, you just turn inwards with the breath and the mantra, and you just sit with it, and you do not verbalize it. You sit with it. You know what it is. You just found it. You can feel it. It's big. It's charged. It's emotionally an emotional explosive that can go off at any time. Really speaking, if something really hammers it. but you're just sitting with it. You're not doing anything. You're just sitting with it. You're just breathing into it, breathing into it. And you do it, regularly. Sometimes you can just feel it rising. You can do it on the spot. Sometimes you just know it's there. You just sit with it in peace without verbalizing. And with time, it just completely disintegrates. It comes by with everything else. Hello, I'm here. Bye bye, I'm gone. Makes you
So
smile.
it's just the seeing of it. And I was again communicating with Di. My mind wants to take this thing and take it apart, deconstruct it, figure out where the seed is and root it out and that. But I know that's not the way, so I'm trying to learn this new way. For all our viewers out there, I'm in the same boat you guys are. um, so is it just seeing it? Like the awareness of it, I now have a very acute awareness of that issue, and I maybe don't see all the tentacles of how it's permeated my life, but I see quite a few. So the sitting with it, then you're saying, is just a resting in the charge of it and the awareness of it with the breath.
Completely. With the breath, and with the mantra to just stop, gelling with the thoughts, and you know how it usually goes. Otherwise, you jump on a Ford wagon. And so you use the mantra just to help you with sitting, not gelling with the thoughts, just sitting with it. No analyzing, no asking why, no what are the tentacles, even not that. It does not, absolutely does not matter. Over time, this thing that has started maybe in a childhood, maybe, who knows when, it was just growing and growing and feeding off, and more emotionally charged things were thrown into it. So it was growing bigger and bigger and bigger. And we're not getting anywhere by trying to mentally process this week, how, from where, when, what is, yeah. It's just, you can waste a few more lifetimes on that, and it's not what you really want.
No.
You know what I mean? It took you long enough to get to the point where you can recognize it, where you can accept its existence.
Mm.
You see, that was a good question too. Accepting its existence, recognizing it, accepting its existence, and opening to its existence with sitting. By sitting,
Right.
as you always pointed out, I don't necessarily mean sitting, but breathing into it, breath mantra. And whenever you want to jump on a thought, on this bandwagon of thoughts and mental processing, just get back to breath and mantra. What you're trying to do, what we're really trying to do, is controlling this traffic of thoughts. We want to be in control of it. We don't want to be going with it. We don't want to be gelling with it. We don't want to be losing ourselves in thoughts. We want to be controlling it. And we're doing that with the breath and the mantra, and repeatedly, till we make it automatic.
So is the mantra something we would end up clinging to?
It's possible to cling on to everything, Angie, that is expressed in a word or that it's got a form, anything. So
Mm.
that if you come to that, you might have to, work on that. But Buddha is it's picked from obviously Buddhist language, which means just the knowing, just the knowing. Like this existence itself is completely knowing, which means it's completely self-aware at any time. It's got a knowing of everything that is going on. Nothing is hidden. Nothing is, somewhere else, or nothing is misunderstood. That is this knowing. What I find with myself is that with time, you don't really need to that much breathing and mantra and stuff like that, because it's just everything is just passing through. But when you are, it falls off actually. Once it all falls off, once you stop attaching. But when you're practicing still, when you're still away from that complete detachment, I think it's a very helpful tool. Specifically, this specific mantra, which has this knowing sort of a sound to it, or knowing, not as knowledge, but just knowing as knowing even without putting it into words.
So
What happened?
there's another
Yeah, please,
here's another
please.
question for you. So how, and our viewers may be sitting out there with the same question, how do you, if there's something or a number of things so big in one's life, how do you start to see those? If you don't have a die to text you in the during the night telling you what the thing is. um, like, do you just wait for the emotional charge, wait to feel the resistance to something, and then you're always just, it's just a constant process of feeling the resistance and then sitting with it, regardless of what it is. You don't even have to label it as clinging.
I think the word clinging is a very good starting point. It's usually emotionally charged for a lot of people, because before we are able to detach, we all cling to something, and it's bigger and smaller depending on a
Mm,
person, but it's usually pretty big for most of the people. The first important thing is that you start practicing turning inwards the breath and the mantra to find a little bit of peace and to find a little bit of feel what it can be like when you're not attaching, how it can be peaceful, how it can be
mm,
open, how it can be. And then just to notice where you are at during the day. Are you in that peace, or are you engaged with something that's charged, emotionally charged? And when you find that there is this engagement that's charged, emotionally charged, brings a physical reaction in a body that's actually staying. It's not just going away, but it's sort of lingering. Then you know that this is something to sit with. You don't even need to give it a name. But when it's there, you just breathe into it. You see, this practice is so very important because it gives you an experience of what it can be like, what actually existence can be like. And once you have this experience, then you can differentiate between your usual daily experience, which is caught inside the thoughts
mm,
and being busy with mental processing, and completely different, shallow sort of a, moving around and dealing with. And then you can become much more attentive to what is actually your experience. Is it here, or is it here, or is it somewhere here? And once you're attentive, because you not just understand, I don't mean understand here, but understand here, the
mm,
difference, then you spot all these different signs during the day. Oh, this is really engaging me on a mental level and physical level in a way of charge, charge. I'm physically charged. This is something I have to sit with to resolve it. And often you don't even need to name it. Because as you said, you could be completely blinded into what is the name of it, which in the end of the day
mm,
might not be important. As I said to you before, probably some time. When I started practicing, I stumbled upon biggies, real biggies, that I now laugh at, when I sort of think, can't even recall the charge, but I know it was there, and I
Mm,
know that I was completely, I could not believe it that I really fell for it. I could not believe it that I really was feeding this for 50 years of my life.
mm.
But it's not important really. What I mean is they were really big, and it was more than one. They were really big. It happens with practice. It did not happen before I started this breathing, turning inwards with the breath and the mantra practice, before I actually developed this experience here so I could, spot the difference as I was going through the day, whether I'm here or here or here or here. That gave me, that actually gave me an opportunity and a capability to realize, oh, you know, this is something charged, this is something big, this is something that's sitting here and blocking me. And it's not moving and it's not changing. Everything is changing, everything is moving, but this is not. This is just like frozen in space, and time.
I just want
So
to come
it's really
back
this
to this.
please,
So just
please.
just sitting, this is where my stumbling block is right now. I find it, in, I'm, I guess I'm incredulous just by sitting and like, I don't know how to explain this, like warmly welcoming whatever this charge is, and awareness of breath, and just by sitting with that wherever I am during my day when that arises, that I don't have to name it, that I don't have to tear it apart, I don't have to wait for some aha moment to connect all the pieces together. Nothing. You're saying, if I'm hearing you clearly, you're saying just simply be with the charge.
That is so beautifully put, Angie. I absolutely just simply be with the charge. You see, the way we are brought up is that we value the mental experience, the mental processing. This is what we really value. This is for us. Wow. I mean, whatever we can put into thoughts and mentally process and work it out and analyze it. And this is valuable. This is valuable. But when people just sit like that, they're not mentally processing, they're not doing anything. Bloody wankers. It's just a waste of time. What are they doing? Isn't it? I mean,
Sorry.
honestly, there is nothing there. There is nothing there. What is there? Nothing. They're just vacant.
Mm.
They're vacant. They're stupid people, isn't it? You see? This is it. This is it. But there is experience and then there is experience. Sorry. When we go in, we turn inwards. There is experience. That is not put into words, but there is experience. Whatever that is, we're not naming it, but there is experience. We're just not valuing it because we are brought up not to value it. We're brought up to think that it's just rubbish, just nothing. We're just being lazy.
Can I ask a question? Interject. So when you're saying you're sit and
Please.
there's an experience of sitting, my this this may
No, I
segue
no,
off
I
the
did.
clinging topic
No,
a
no.
little bit.
I just want to interfere here, Angie.
Okay.
I did not say experience of sitting. I just said there is an experience. Full stop. I'm not defining the experience with anything.
Okay. Um So can you say some more about that? Oh, okay, let me give you some background. So when I sit, I don't experience anything. I mean, there's not, I know some people have energy, chakras, this, that moving, whatever the experience is, heat in some places, yada, yada. The list is endless. I have just emptiness, nothing. And
That's
I can
it.
sit that way for a long time.
You're experiencing emptiness. That is awesome. That's what is emptiness.
I
And a
want
high
some neon
vibration.
lights.
I know you fell for this. You fell for this, like a vast majority of people. You fell for this light show.
Hmm. I mean, I wouldn't trade it. Mine is certainly, it's peaceful. I don't have a body really when I'm there because there's just nothing, really nothing. And the breath almost is not present. I know I must be breathing, but it is there. It like it's not relevant immediately.
Now you're there, and you just go on with it, and you focus on your chest area, and you go on with it whenever you can. It's a progression. People think, I'm sitting now for 5 minutes or 10 minutes or half an hour, even half an hour. Wow. And I mean, there is nothing I can put into words. This is just, there's no value in it, is it? You know what I mean? Like, and we'll go back to normal, and we'll try it some other time. It's just all wrong. What you experience, this nothingness, and through the chest area, the high vibration, the peace, it's a high vibration than what you experience when you are interspersed inside the thoughts. And when you stay with it, with time, you progress deeper and deeper. And then you had all sorts of knowing that you might not express with words, but then later on, when you come back to this sort of, mentally processing surface, it might appear in words, knowing about existence, knowing about how it all comes together, knowing about the nature of the body and all the other physical world, knowing about the eternity of existence. And with time, you're just always in this space with high vibration that is felt through the chest area and through the heart, always. And the surface things like mental processing and all the images and all that is just passing through, and it's just absolutely of no importance whatsoever. Whether you live or die, or whether
Mm.
you I mean, you need to have, as I always say, the basic things covered, like obviously some food and some roof over your head and stuff like that. But everything else is just completely unimportant. Completely. But then people try and put it, of course, into words again and say, oh, no lights, no this, no that, no images, no celestial beings, no big sort of I don't know. But I can tell you something, it's huge. It's huge. And I'm not putting it into words. This experience is huge. What we experience on a mental level is just completely, I mean, not just an off kick or side kick or whatever we call it, but just really
Mm.
completely irrelevant in a way. You know what I mean? But it's all here. It's all one. It's all in one. It's not, like this is here and this is there. Like I've got my eyes open. I'm in the space. I've got my eyes open. Angie, I'm aware of everything, of the trees, of
Mm.
the surrounding, of you, of people out there, of everything. I'm not, I'm not, I haven't gone anywhere else. I'm not in a different universe. I'm not in a different level. All the levels are together in one.
Mm.
But people want to name it. People want to, they want a light show. They want a name. They want a thought. They want thoughts about it. And
Mm.
then they engage with that, and then they have these expectations, and then they have these disappointments. But it's all here. It's all here. It's not here. You see, there is clinging to one's spiritual path, spiritual experience. There is clinging. We cling to what we have here.
Mm.
We want it. And when we're here, I mean, it's bloody disappointing. It's bloody nothing. It's, just, you know what I mean? It's a clinging, Angie. I honestly, I had an experience not long ago just through reading a few texts and just as I said to you, just to explain to viewers, I'm not a Facebook person, but I thought, okay, let's see what's out there. And I went and I scanned for a few days, a few Facebook
Mm.
groups. But I just want to say this, Angie, listen. And I started in one, these Facebook groups have like more than 1 million people. There are just three of them. More than 1 million members, okay? So I
Mm.
just posted something. Oh, I've documented my experience of my spiritual journey, and I would like to hear from you, your feedback, your spiritual journey. And now, listen to this. I have people writing. Really, I really appreciated that. They really put an effort into it, and they wrote about their spiritual journey, obstacles and struggles, and the nice parts and the difficult parts, and I really struggle with this and that. And then I write back, okay, my feedback. And I said, you know, first I acknowledge the journey and the pain and the elation and
Mm.
everything all together. And I say, you pointed out these things that you struggle with, there is a way that you could, deal with this on a practical level and open it up. Do you think, Angie, that anyone wrote back and asked me what that could be?
Mm. No.
No one.
Mm.
No one. And there were a few people who wrote really, really nice. I really appreciated that, really in detail, described the journeys and the struggles and everything else, elations and all that. And then my feedback, and there was never any answer to that. They are not interested, Angie. They struggle. They describe these struggles, but they're not interested. When
But is that
someone
not the
says,
example of the clinging to the path? I mean, their experiences,
that's what
their
I'm saying.
story. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. They are completely, completely in it, overwhelmed by it, clinging to it completely, without any
Mm.
reserve. So much that they're not, even when somebody is offering them a way to make it easier, to make it more open, to actually crack it open, even, they do not even express an interest in what that could be.
Mm.
Nothing, just complete silence, like they just cut it
Mm.
off completely. You see clinging in action, and you see, Angie, how it blocks you. It blocks you from moving anywhere, any change, any progress, any development, anything. And it closes off the space. You're closed off even to people who are maybe Angie, even in a position to offer you something practical that might actually work for you. It might not, Angie,
Mm.
but it's a possibility. But they're not, completely not have the slightest interest in what that could be.
Yeah, I have to say my story sort of segues in some ways with that. And this goes back to, my Baba. and having been raised in that sort of tradition, and then fast forward, like 4 decades, and here you are. And so I remember this conversation with you vividly because you were suggesting another practice, and it was a little bit different, than what my Baba had suggested. And so I was still doing my Baba's practice, and now I'm doing yours. And then there was, again, until this morning, I had not seen the elephant in the room. And I felt the resistance when you gave me that, and I had even asked you about that. Felt like I was serving two masters. Um, but it was interesting for me. It all like fits together now.
But you see, Angie, you found that little opening. Your clinging was not completely overwhelming you. You found somehow, you found me. I mean, you know what I mean? You reacted to what I was suggesting. You were still alive. You were still somehow giving it a possibility, even if you rejected it. But there was some happening. There was some commotion. You see what I mean?
Because I was desperate. I needed something.
Yeah,
And I mean, I just was
yeah,
like, you were my lifeline,
yeah,
actually. Like, throw me the life raft
yeah. It
and
doesn't matter.
I'm just getting on it.
Doesn't matter what the reason was. Doesn't matter what the reason was. But you see, you were already starting to a tiny bit uncling,
Mm,
so that you could, you were in a position to let in a little bit of what was coming from my side, and that sparked some sort of, things happening, you know, inside you, things happening.
yeah.
You know, Angie, I just want to say something to this. You see, like the way I always saw this, I know you were raised differently, but there are no masters and there are no servants and no one is serving
Mm,
anyone and no one is, there is nothing like that. Aren't you? We are all in the same space. We're all in the same space. It's just a question of how aware we are, where is our awareness, how can we open it? Some people open it more, some people open it less, but we're all in it. We're all in the same
mm.
space. It's no difference.
Yeah, I see that.
You see this? So you see, your clinging is slowly unclinging.
What
It
would be
takes
my,
time.
yeah, what would be my markers that I'm like done with it? Or how would I measure if it's gone?
No,
If there's no charge?
no, 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 no. Yes.
Okay.
Once it resolves itself, it won't be charged. It will come and go. It will be so nice, a nice momentary encounter that comes through and brings a smile and goes.
Mm,
And, when Baba is mentioned, you will always smile. It will come and it will go, but it won't be this big thing sitting there and blocking everything else. Nothing will be in contradiction with it.
mm,
Nothing. Nothing is in contradiction with Baba. It's just your clinging that makes it a
mm.
contradiction.
Yes, indeed.
And, you know, you say there is this experience that we have here, Angie, and we don't have to name it, but it is. And it's good that we value it. It's good that we accept it. It's good that we recognize it. It's not nothing. It's an experience. And it's an experience that opens everything else and releases everything.
Mm,
As I said, and you said before, and we agreed on that, we are brought up in a way that we are really having really this really bad, negative thoughts about it, about an
Mm.
experience that is not in mental processing. But we are wrong, Angie. We are just wrong. We were wrong, We were wrong. And all people who taught us that were wrong too, and they suffered for it. And the world is full of suffering. We all suffer, for it. Now, you see, I just want to say this, and you say something, how it is just so easy and so natural and so nice to just be in that space, and it's often an effort to even get yourself out of that space. And for me, in a way, it's an effort to even make these videos. I could just be in a space and just sort of be completely okay. You know what I mean? But
Mm.
there is this urge in a way to that I sense the suffering. I sense and I just, want to help in a way to reduce the amount of suffering, that people have, or that by sharing, sharing that there is a different experience, that there is a, and so on and so on. And you are the same, Angie. You put an effort into this. We put an effort into this to present different sides of and different openings into this experience, like you and me, on a different sort of, or different, what would ever you call it, but in the same
Right.
space, Angie, in the same space. There is no difference. I don't even know what I should add anything.
Well, let me see. There are no questions other than the ones that were posted initially. Um, and we've answered many of them about being blind to them. Oh, can clinging be terminated by unconditional acceptance?
Yeah, we touched a bit on this a little bit earlier when we said, well, you open to it, you open up to it, you accept it, is meant by that. Completely open up to it, complete acceptance,
So you wouldn't even
through
at that
sitting
point
with.
need to label it as clinging. It would just be if you're in the practice of unconditional acceptance of life, everything that's happening, whatever it is, we
Yeah,
wouldn't have to sort it out like this is clinging or this is attachment or this is that. And
you don't have you don't have to, you just have to look, as you said, for a charge inside, the physical, something
mm,
that you feel as a charge, as an emotional, maybe even distress sometimes, or disturbance sometimes, emotionally charged. You sit with that, and you don't need to name it. You don't need to name it. If we were to name everything and analyze everything, as I said, Angie, before, in lifetimes of work, and we might not even ever get there. You know what I mean?
mm. So this morning when the tears were coming for me, sitting with that, I just simply cried. I mean,
Yes, yes, yes.
like I couldn't even follow
It's
the breath. It was just like it's like devastating, I guess.
Yeah, but you see, you're completely okay now. It's a
Yeah,
release. A release.
it's like ripping
For
off a
me, I had a few.
band-aid.
And as I said to you, for me, I had a few of these releases, and I cried many, many, many tears. And it was released. Not even to be remembered as an experience. You know what I mean? So released.
Hmm.
Like, I know it was, but I can't even experience anymore, the stress
Right,
that I experienced. You see, sometimes
right.
people can re-experience, the stress that they had, or the whatever they had. But even that is gone. It's just released.
Hmm.
And it's just beautiful. The cry, the tears, even for the beauty of it. I mean, honestly. It's a beauty in all that, you know.
There is. It never feels good.
Yeah. Yeah. And you see, Angie, what's so important is there is no more contradictions. There is no more, you know, res- resistance. There is no more, when it's completely released, there is no more contradictions with anything. You know, like it's released. It's not
Mm,
contradicting. It's not, resisting anything. It's not in the way of anything. It's just, but it's not forgotten, Angie. Okay, it is not forgotten. As I said, it comes by. It brings a smile and
mm.
says, and goes and comes again and goes, and it's lovely. Nothing is lost. Nothing is lost. Even when it's released, it is not lost. It's just not binding anymore. It's not charged anymore. But it's still there. It's nothing is lost. And that's the beauty of it too. Now I'll slowly bring myself out enough to Angie. I want to make this announcement, as I said to you earlier.
Mm.
I don't know if anyone wants to take it up, but anyway, here it is. We are offering now free, so called, what would you call it? Spiritual development consultations. What would you call it, Angie? I'm not really sure.
Consultations.
Free
Yeah.
consultations, private, one on one, for our subscribers. You need to be a subscriber. That's a condition. You need to be a subscriber. And it would be so lovely if anyone takes it on, if it's someone who is familiar with the channel, with what we're doing here and stuff like that. Not like, having a consultation to start with IBC and, things that we
Mm.
already spent time on, and hundreds of videos on that topic and all that. You know what I mean? So that we can sort of really get somewhere, maybe open something up, maybe, otherwise it's just, I really wouldn't want to be making an effort, to be absolutely honest, with something that would be just something that's already here, like, and that we've already covered. And but what makes it different is a personal aspect of it, like a personal background, a personal story, a personal circumstances. They're always different with each person, and they might need a little bit different approach, a little bit different nudge, sometimes nudge, or a little opening somewhere with something, or you know.
Yeah, I have to say, actually, for all the viewers out there, Di has helped me personally immensely because she's been able to see things that I can't see. And I don't, my teacher is dead, of course, from many decades, and I'm fairly isolated where I live. So there's not a whole lot of people even on the same page as I am. Um, and then the rest of the texts that I was reading, they're books, nice lyrical, like, high vibration words, but it's not the same. When you're stuck in life or you're stuck on your spiritual path, you can't figure things out necessarily. And there's just some simple tools that, Di's pointed me in one direction. She offers pointers, I guess, as you know, if you've listened to any of her videos. And those are most helpful because they're specifically for me, and she knows exactly what is happening now with me. So, anyhow, that's my
And
2 cents
vice
worth.
versa. And vice versa. Angie, you know a lot about what's happening with me too.
Mm.
But what I mean
It's
is, it's open. It's open. We, as I said just before, we are in the same space. We are in the same space. And I just want to, and I said this to Angie too earlier, and I just want to bring this into even some sort of a vision, or it is absolutely not important whether it's going in that direction or not or whatever. With time, there will be more people who will join us, who will get to the point where they're able to offer these consultations to other seekers and stuff like that, based on the simple practice that we do and with simple pointers that we sort of maybe share and stuff like that. I mean, this is the vision that just a direction. I might go there, might not. It's not really important, but you know, for me, it's just something that I would love so much to make space for people when they come to the point where they can give consultations to sort of open it up for. And I just want to give a very simple comparison, which is this. I once listened to the guy who was trying to sell and I'd say, what was it, like online ebook or maybe something like that for the beginners in golf. So beginning golf beginners, this is something that's made for people who are beginning in golf. And he said this, and I always remember that. He said, look, I have just passed the level of a beginner. I'm not a good golfer. I'm far from being an expert in golfing or anything like that. But being past that level, being now on a level one above, and understanding completely, and still very fresh in my mind, what is needed for someone who is a beginner to take him to the next level, I'm completely confident and I completely have no qualms about sharing this with other people, and completely confident that this is going to help people who are beginners in golf. You do not need to be a top golfer, a top professional, or whatever else, to give people instructions how to start to help beginners. Actually, someone who is already up there, less of making people understand, people who are beginners, what exactly and how exactly they need to approach it and stuff like that, because they are so much higher up. I mean, this is so remote from the beginnings and this and that and whatnot and whatnot. And I have the same approach. Like, especially when it comes to spiritual journey, we're all in the same space. We're sharing the same spiritual journey. It is just we might be at a different points in time, whatever you want to call it, different openings into it and stuff like that. But at a certain point, anyone can give something valuable to someone who is not there yet, who is still struggling with maybe some basic stuff, like how do I even, I don't know, turn inwards and, I just, want to make this clear. Does this make sense, Angie?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's why I always thought, before I was having all these videos and I was just blabbing to myself or to whoever, just being closed inside this direction that I was going, with no feedback really, apart from a few little comments, which I always appreciated because they were the only feedback that I got, and that gave me an idea of whether I'm even hitting any right points, or whether I'm even helping people, whether I'm even, that was really so precious. But you see now, when I can discuss things with you who are in the same space, on the same journey, but at a different sort of a opening, it just makes so much more sense. And sometimes what
Absolutely.
you say, and when you present your view or your take on it, or your, could be much more valuable for people than what I might say from some sort of a different point, where it is much more opening, where people can't even imagine what it's like to be at that opening and stuff like that. And I might have even forgotten what it was like when I was at the minimal opening or no opening. And you see what I mean?
Yep. Yep.
So this sharing from different points in a journey is just absolutely priceless.
It is.
So thank you, Angie. And thank you
Yes,
all
thank you. And please leave us
for being part
comments,
of this.
viewers. We'd love to hear from
Thank
you
you.
all. Thanks.
And thank you for being part of this. And if you want to make a booking for the what did we call it, spiritual development, what, a consultation,
Mm.
what would be the best thing? Just email, isn't it? Email.
Email you, yep.
Yeah. And we'll leave an email. I've already left it a few times, but we'll leave it again in the
It's
proper
on the,
official announcement,
yeah,
on a
and it's on
page.
the
On a
channel information too. So,
That's right. That's right.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll do that.
All right.
Angie will make a nice announcement and with the email and everything. So she does all these things really beautifully. I can't even, go there. Anyway, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And see you all next week. Same time, same place.
Yep.